All right, let's talk about a true horticultural legend, the Cattleya orchid. You know the one. It has those absolutely spectacular, show-stopping flowers, but it can be notoriously stubborn about actually producing them. Today, we're going to break down exactly what this plant needs to put on its royal show, and we're going to do it by completely changing how we think about it. So first things first, let's just throw out that idea of a delicate, fragile flower. A Cattleya isn't something you coddle. It's a tough, resilient survivor, an organism that's been engineered for life in the treetops. Our job isn't to pamper it, it's to understand its world and give it the challenges it's built to overcome. Think of your orchid as a hero on a quest to bloom. And to help our hero on her quest, we first need to get familiar with her toolkit. You know, the specialized parts that let her succeed in her environment. Let's start with the pseudobulb. Now, this isn't just a stem. Think of it as the orchid's personal onboard canteen. These thick, fleshy parts are designed to store water and energy, which the plant needs to get through dry spells. But more importantly, this is the fuel tank that powers the massive effort of flowering. So plump, firm pseudobulbs, that's the sign of a hero who's ready for anything. So which kind of hero are you actually working with? Well, Cattleyas basically fall into two camps. First, you have the unifoliates. They have one single leaf per pseudobulb, and they're the ones that give you those classic, absolutely enormous corsage-style blooms. Then you have the bifoliates. They've got two or more leaves, and they produce these amazing clusters of smaller, often waxy, and really long-lasting flowers. Knowing which one you have gives you a few clues about what it's looking for. Okay, now for the first, and I mean the most important trial our hero has to face. Because without conquering this challenge, the journey to flowering, well, it stops before it even gets started. Light. This is the #1 reason Cattleyas failed to bloom, period. And just look at the difference here. That common Phalaenopsis orchid you see everywhere, it's pretty happy with low light, somewhere around 1,500 foot candles. But a Cattleya, it's a high light powerhouse. It wants 4,000 foot candles or even more. That's not just a little more light. That's the difference between a dim corner and a bright, sunny porch. It needs that massive amount of solar energy to charge up its pseudobulbs for the big show. So how do you know if it's getting enough light? Well, your orchid has a handy built-in fuel gauge, its leaves. Now, if you see this really lush, deep forest green color, you might think, hey, that looks healthy. But that's actually a sign the plant is starving for light. It's in full-on survival mode, pumping out chlorophyll to catch every last little photon it can find. It has absolutely zero extra energy to even think about making flowers. This is what you're looking for, a bright, vibrant, apple green or chartreuse color. This right here is the sweet spot. It means the plant is so saturated with light that it doesn't need to overproduce chlorophyll. It's fully charged, it's happy, and it has all the energy it needs to get ready for the main event. This is a blooming machine right here. But you can go too far. On the other extreme, if you see a yellowish, kind of leathery-looking leaf, that's a red flag. You've overdone it. This is the plant equivalent of a sunburn. It's getting way too much direct, harsh sun, and its tissues are getting damaged. You'll want to pull it back a bit or maybe put it behind a sheer curtain. Okay, so our hero is properly fueled with sunlight. It's now ready for its next challenge, hydration. Before an epiphyte, that's a plant that grows on trees, remember? How it gets water is just as critical as how much water it gets. It is all about rhythm. You have to master the wet-dry cycle. This is all about mimicking its home in the treetops, a sudden, heavy downpour, followed by days of wind and sun that dry its roots out completely. So, when you water, I mean really drench it. Let water pour through the pot. But then, and this is the most important part, you have to let it go completely, bone dry before you even think about watering it again. A great pro tip, get used to the weight of the pot when it's dry versus when it's wet. The difference is huge. And here are a few quick tips to really nail this. Always try to water in the morning. That gives the leaves and the crown of the plant all day to dry out, which helps prevent rot. These guys can also be a little sensitive to salts and tap water, so if you can use rainwater or reverse osmosis water, they'll love you for it. And here's the golden rule, the most important rule of all. If you are ever in doubt about whether to water, just wait another day. It is way, way easier to save a thirsty orchid than a rotten one. All right, this next trial, this is the one that's going to feel the most wrong, the most counterintuitive. But I promise you, for many species, it is absolutely the key. We're talking about a period of strategic neglect. I know what you're thinking. After everything we just said about watering, why on earth would we deliberately withhold it? It sounds completely crazy, right? But this isn't just neglect. It's a very specific, very important biological signal we're sending to the plant, one that mimics the changing of seasons in its natural habitat. See, this dry rest or dormancy, it isn't just about survival. It's a trigger. It's the signal that tells the plant, hey, the growing season is over. Stop making new leaves and roots. It's time to take all that energy you've stored in your pseudobulbs and get ready to reproduce. It's the final preparation for its ultimate goal, the bloom. So how do you actually do it? It's pretty simple. Once the newest pseudobulba has finished growing and is fully mature, you just drastically cut back on watering. So maybe you go from watering every 5 days to every 2 weeks or even longer. You're just giving it a tiny bit of water to keep the pseudobulbs from shriveling up like raisins. And this is critical. You stop all fertilizer. The plant is sleeping. It doesn't need to eat. So the plant is charged with light, it's hydrated, it's had its rest, and all its energy is consolidated and ready to go. We're at the climax of the journey. What's the final signal that tells the orchid, okay, it's time, go? Well, believe it or not, the final trigger is often just a number, 15 degrees Fahrenheit, or about 8 degrees Celsius. A consistent drop in temperature between day and night of about that much is a primary signal for the plant to form flower buds. It's like the cool mountain air of autumn rolling in, and it basically acts as the starting pistol for the final race. And as the plant starts to push out its flower sheath, you can give it one final meal to help it along. When you start watering normally again after that dry rest, switch over to a bloom booster fertilizer. These are high in phosphorus, which is the key nutrient for developing flowers, and it just gives the plant that last little burst of energy it needs for the big push. You know, all of this really brings us to the core philosophy of growing these incredible plants. It isn't about following a rigid checklist of rules. It's about ecological empathy. It's about understanding the world the plant actually evolved in and then doing our best to recreate those signals: the intense light, the drenching rains, the long dry seasons, and the cool nights. So, you've seen the hero's journey. You understand the trials of light and water and rest. You know the triggers that unlock that final, spectacular reward. The question now isn't if the orchid can bloom. It's whether you're ready to be the ally that helps this queen finally claim her crown.